Everybody, welcome to another entry in the Disability Diaries, a disability vlog that explores the world of disabilities, disability rights, disability issues, what's good in the world of disabilities, what's bad in the world of disabilities, disability advocacy, and so much more. My name is Hope, and I'm an individual with mild autism, and today we will be examining the happiest street in the world that has reached hundreds of countries, hundreds of viewers all over the world, Sesame Street, and why I think their autism representation is very poor and subpar, and what they can do to make that representation better. Now, as everyone knows, in 2017, Julia was introduced onto the show as the show's very first autistic Muppet and first autistic character. I was in my first year of college when Julia debuted on Sesame Street, and I I was excited because as a little girl, I watched a lot of magical girls. I did watch Barney, Sesame Street, but I also watched magical girl shows like Winx Club, Totally Spies, Pretty Cure, and other magical girl properties that I grew up with watching as a girl and wondered, when will I be represented watching these shows? And, as I was growing up, autism was kind of a taboo thing. They typically use the R word to describe people with disabilities, and they essentially did not really represent autism well. And that is still true today with some shows, but I know there's like a small minority that portrays autism well. So when Julia was announced that they would be adding her to the lineup of Sesame Street characters to the show, I was very excited. So I had waited until they did the PBS premiere because at the time my family could not afford HBO. My family could only afford a couple channels, and HBO was not one of them. And then when Julia did appear, it was during Autism Acceptance Month. So what they do, and this is what they still do, is that since Julia's autistic, she automatically falls under Autism Acceptance Month. And they premiere an episode on PBS with her simultaneously with HBO to be part of Autism Acceptance Month festivities and other things that go with Autism Acceptance Month. So the day of Julia's premiere episode came, and I was very disappointed. And as a 26-year-old individual on the autism spectrum, today I'm still very disappointed in their representation of Julia. Now, when I commented on Sesame Street's post about Julia, about how she's a poor representation, I got a lot of hate from other people in the autism spectrum, and I'm not trying to bring down representation. I'm not saying that, that because I've never seen myself in the same light as Julia. It's not any of those arguments. I'm saying that to me, as a person with autism, they're only representing one type. If you don't know what autism is, if you don't know, autism is a spectrum disorder. It affects people differently. So how I try to tell people is that autism is like ice cream. The spectrum is like different kinds of ice cream. Better yet, different kinds of ice cream floats. Now, for example, say that you're mild. Like, say that you're a mild individual and you're completely almost, well, neurotypical. So that would kind of be like a root beer float. Or if you're like so unique onto the spectrum, that's kind of like an exotic float. And it could be any flavor you want. But anyway, so, you know, I don't feel like she is representing Sesame Street well. Especially when Sesame Street barely uses Julia in the show. She's barely in any episodes. If there's any Julia-focused episodes, they premiere them in April, which I don't think is fair on the autism community who watches the show. It's made up of kids on the autism spectrum. They barely ever see Julia in the show. And Julia, seriously, barely is in any episodes. She's not even in the season 53 opening sequence. So they add characters like Tango the dog. They add Ji-yoon, Tamir, bunch of human characters as well. Which, no issue with the Korean American representation. No issue with the more black characters campaign. No problem with showing adopt, don't shop with Tango and giving dogs a forever home and everything, and even cats too. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be perfectly honest when I say this. Julia has every right to be in the opening of Sesame Street. She has every right to be in the opening with Elmo and Cookie Monster and Big Bird and Abby Cadabby and other characters. As much as everyone in that opening deserves to be in there. As much as Ji-yoon and Tamir and Tango deserve to be in the opening, Julia deserves to be in the opening theme. She deserves to be in the opening sequence. She deserves to be in the opening sequence of the show. She deserves to be part of it. And I don't think that it's fair. I don't think that it's right for them just to push her to the side. Because people think that she's not that important. She is important. She is important because she's representing many children on the spectrum. I never had this representation as a child. I never saw an autistic character on Sesame Street. I never saw children on the autism spectrum, Muppet or not, on the show. I never saw kids with autism on Sesame Street. Never. And then Julia came along when I was above the age demographic, when I was above the show's demographic of kids. I was essentially too old for the show by then, but I still watched it and felt very disappointed in her representation, and that's just my opinion. Also, I need to note that they don't let Julia appear in many episodes. The last time I checked, overall, since her 2017 debut in season 47, Julia has only appeared in 20 episodes. So, literally, when she debuted, she only appeared in 2 episodes that season. And then after that, she only appeared in sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Season 51 and 52, she appeared in 2 episodes. In one season, she appeared in 5, and then she only appeared in a couple of episodes in season 53. I think it was 1 or 2 episodes, and I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's right. I don't think that if you create a character on the autism spectrum, she shouldn't have to be pushed to the side. She is the representation that many people with autism felt as if they needed as children. And to me, it doesn't feel like that. Not only are they pushing that good representation, but they are not showing the fact that she deserves to be alongside the other characters, alongside everyone on a more regular basis, more than just resources for caregivers and teachers to show the preschool children, more than just stuff parents can find, more than just anything that, anyone can find. She deserves to be in the show. Not everybody has internet. not everybody has the ability to go online and go to Sesame workshops resources online. Not everybody has that. Sesame Street was created for poor people. Sesame Street was created for low income families, mostly Black communities. And and their mission has since grown. And I honestly feel as if they don't really go with that mission anymore. Just feels to me like they don't really represent people like me that much. And my thoughts, I'll admit they might be narrow, and I've been called out for me saying that my thoughts about Julia are narrow. But these are my thoughts as a person with autism, as a person with a disability. I don't feel like it's right that Julia has this one representation. That's it. I don't think it's fair. I don't think that it's fair for Julia to be pushed off to the side. I don't think that it's fair that Julia is represented by one type. One type. And that one type is portrayed by Stacy Gordon, Julia's puppeteer, who bases it off her autistic son. And, while I applaud that, I applaud her for being a advocate for people with autism, for people on the spectrum, for trying her best. I appreciate her support, but to me, it doesn't feel like a good representation. Also, the lack of autistic puppeteers. You have a girl in the cast who puppeteers Gabriella, one of the newer Black Muppets, and she's been on more news programs, and she's like, oh, well, I trained in the Baptist church and I did puppet shows for the Baptist church. That's how I became a puppeteer. And she's doing a lot more for the Black community. Where is your autistic puppeteer? Why haven't they hired somebody who is on the spectrum and who can do the job as well as Stacy can, who can represent people on the spectrum? You already have this woman out there. She's already created an album. And and with a neurotypical individual playing a character on the autism spectrum, I still don't feel represented. So, I'm going to run down and talk about some of the ways that Sesame Street can improve their autism representation. So I've actually written some street stories down, and this leads me to my first suggestion. My first suggestion being introduce another autistic character. Introduce somebody who is a different part of this, who's on the different part of the autism spectrum. Introduce a character who is introduce a character who is mildly on the spectrum. If you want to represent autism, don't represent just one type. Represent all types. This mildly autistic character could explain to the main characters, well, autism is a spectrum. It's like ice cream. It's like teddy bears. It's like blah, blah, blah. It's like different kinds of cell phones. And, show kids autism is more than just what's shown here. And another issue I have, they don't show Julia going to school. They don't show her going to school. Like, where does she even go to school? My problem with that is I grew up going to neurotypical classes, and with Sesame Street, it's unknown if Julia goes to school. at all, or even to a special needs school. Not that going to a special needs school is a problem. I don't think that's an issue. I think that, if you can't go to neurotypical school, then for a lot of people, special needs schools might be the option for a lot of people. That's just the way I think about it. You show Elmo and Rudy and Abby all going to school. And at the time of this recording, it is back to school season. It is almost the end of back to school season. And you don't really show Julia interacting with the characters in school or in a school. And the way to fix that problem is maybe show Julia going to school, maybe a neurotypical environment, maybe show Julia going to school and then running into an issue like bullying by other kids who maybe take her tablet, because in the resources for life scene, she's got a special tablet to help her talk. And what I think that they should do is they should do a storyline where she goes to school for the first time, and there's some kids who find out that she's autistic, and they make fun of her, they tease her, they take her talking pad, and they just, make her feel miserable. And before you comment, you're like, well, that's a horrible idea. Let me just finish what I'm trying to say. So, and then introduce a character who's mildly on the spectrum, who stands up for Julia, who's like, you know, don't do this. This is not okay. Julia is our friend. Julia deserves all of the same attention, kindness, and love as everybody else in this classroom. And, let these boys realize what they did wrong and then introduce this girl as a new character, a new autistic character, a new Muppet character, even. Because, you know, a character like that would be kind of hard to come by. And so it doesn't really feel like that she represents me, but if she were to be introduced, a new mild autistic character were to be introduced in the show, that would be amazing. And then the episode after that, which I've actually written, and I'll probably link this in the description below if anyone's interested. Leave a comment if you're interested in reading my street story. This character can be introduced to the other characters as one of Julia's best friends. And that shows kids that there's more than one type of autism. And also, the thing about that is, don't just show Julia just talking in one word sentences. I know that's for a lot of people on the spectrum, but you're doing a show for kids. Kids are going to see this show. Families are going to see this show, especially little kids who are going to see this. And they're going to grow up thinking that's what autism is like. And I don't think that there should be one type. At least show that there's more than one. So, and the last suggestion that I really want to make here is maybe do an episode about ableism on Sesame Street. Maybe show an episode where there are some Muppet kids who don't allow Julia to do anything because she's autistic. Maybe fit in this new character that I suggested a little while back. Maybe show these Muppet kids treating Julia poorly and discriminating against her. And then, the other characters learning about ableism and putting a stop to it. And the boys learn that ableism is wrong. So that's something that I would definitely would love to see in the show. I would love to see Sesame Workshop work on their autism representation and making it much better than they did. So now to close out this video, do you think that that Julia is a good autism representation on Sesame Street or bad autism representation on Sesame Street? If you think she's good, why? Or if you think she's bad, how would you want to make Sesame Street better for autistic individuals watching the show? I would love to hear your thoughts. You can leave a comment in the comment section below. I will reply to every comment. I will try my best to. And I will reply to some of the comments and leave a like on some of the comments. So watch for those hearts. And if you'd like to let me know your thoughts on this video, again, you can leave me a comment, or if you'd like to send me an email. If you'd like to send me an email to my email address here on Gmail on this channel, you can send me an email to my channel email. My email is that's the with two E's, the disability diaries at gmail.com. And you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is the with two E's, once again, the disability diaries. So that's at the disability diaries. So make sure to look for me on Instagram and on Gmail. And let me know what your thoughts are of today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are about Julia. And let me know your thoughts about Sesame Street's autism representation. And if you feel as if that representation should stay or if it should change. Because I know that a lot of people on the spectrum do feel as if Julia is a good representation. And there is a minority of people who do feel different, like I do, about Julia. And that they feel as if she's a good representation, and some people do feel as if she's a bad representation. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. So I look forward to hearing your comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.